here we go. So, here we are, GB4.
Yeah, there we go. It's the last race of the weekend, which I'm really, really looking forward to, Piers, because we had some excellent racing, but I still cannot believe this sun is out. What is that all about?
It's amazing. It's going to be brilliant racing, actually, for the drivers, because they've had tricky conditions throughout the weekend. Qualified in dry, wet conditions, then we had a tricky race 1, and then very much wet for race 2, but it's almost like a different race circuit.
I have to say, I love this MSV. I'm going to mention it now. The MSV bus you can see in the background there, just ferrying people around, all electric and stuff. And I was following that the other day, and it goes at some pace. I was expecting it to be like a sort of slow thing that didn't go anywhere, but no, very nice. We've got all the tyres out here. We still have the wet tyres out. I mean, realistically, no one's going to be using the wet tyres, are they?
No, it's just a precaution. The teams always have them in case of a freak rainstorm or rain during the race. They may need to change them, but I think looking unlikely for this one. Slick tyres out for this one. It's going to be dry running pace. It's going to be important.
There we go. Well, Dan Hickey starts on pole position for Fortec, and Dan Hickey is the one we've talked about before, actually. He's got some amazing helmet cam footage. I know that in the GB4 test you did in the new car, we've seen loads of footage of that. That was Lucas Blakely's camera, wasn't it? And he's got another one as well, and he does massive numbers of people who are seeing what it's like to be inside this car. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure if he's started on pole position before, but it's going to be a great opportunity for him because he's always had clean races, but he never seems to just quite be there up and challenging for the top 3. Do you think Dan Hickey can actually stick around there and maybe keep on there, get a podium?
It would be great to see Dan Hickey have a strong result, get on the podium, maybe even get a win. He's had a tricky weekend so far. Unfortunately, had a couple of offs in race 1 and race 2 in the tricky conditions, but again, we better not forget that it's his first full season of proper racing. He came and sampled GB4 with us last year, but for a full season, first full season this year. With these dry conditions, we know he's done a decent amount of testing, I think, so hopefully he can use all that experience he's got to bring out a good result. It'll be good to see because, again, he, as you mentioned, a lot of cool footage, a lot of followers on social media, and he's a thoroughly nice guy, and hopefully he can show what he can do on track at this one.
Sure, if you see the social media, you know he's driving some pretty nice cars after time. He's very into his cars. Let's take a look at what happened in the last race before we go racing for one final time this weekend at Donington Park.
Highlights from round 17 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. It was underway, and unfortunately for Ellis, there was already a stall on the line. For Linus Granfors, though, it was a good launch, and straight around the outside he would go as he was able to power his way through around the outside of Finn Harrison and into victory after a brilliant drive. However, there were some big battles further down the order as Harry Burgoyne Jr. Was going side by side with Wilson. Unfortunately, there was a bit of a spin for Templeton after some contact with Megan Bruce. Alicia Palmovsky dropping back behind as Lucas Blakely was working his way forward and up and onto the podium positions. They had to settle behind Finn Harrison, who was applying the pressure late on in the race but could not do anything about this driver here. Linus Granfors through the final corner to take a 6th victory in GB4.
Yeah, Linus Granfors there doing very well for Fortec, and we have another Fortec on pole position as we just mentioned there with Dan Hickey, and it's going to be an interesting race to see at the end there. In the GB3 race that we've just had about an hour and a half ago, it was very hard for people to overtake. What are the tyres looking like, Piers? Are we looking like we've got new tyres on the cars as well? You'd think that they would mirror the GB3 given that we've had a lot of wet running.
Yeah, it's interesting. Of course, we've had wet and dry running, so most of the cars will have some new tyres to use in this one. They'll probably put them on the left-hand side of the car because right-hand corners, the left-hand tyres get used a bit more, and a brand new slick tyre is generally a bit faster in the first run than a used slick tyre. But some of the drivers might be choosing to use this reverse grid as an opportunity to make places at the start of the race, and may choose to even go with a used set of tyres because they tend to heat up a little bit quicker. We actually heard in the GB3 race just a few moments ago that some of the drivers actually chose to go with some used tyres for that reason. Didn't work out in GB3 for those drivers, but GB4, they don't use the tyres quite as hard, so they don't go off quite as much.
Yeah, well, Megan Bruce will be behind our leader on the front row of the grid alongside him. So it'll be interesting to see whether the Fortec can get another good start as Linus Granfors did in that last round. Naomi's been out and she's been finding more drivers for us. Well, she's not managed to find any drivers. She has, it's coming, but it's fine. We'll hear from some of the drivers in just a second. We do have some of the drivers that didn't make the 103, did they?
Yes, yeah, we had 3 drivers that didn't quite make the 103%. I will just make sure.
Just explain the 103 for us, just while we wait for one of the drivers.
Sure, yes, so the 103% is a rule in this championship, which is for the reverse grid. In Formula 1, you have to make 107% to be on the grid. In Formula and GB4 and GB3, fastest qualifying times, all put in an order, and 103% of the fastest time. If you're within that, then you are entitled to take the reverse grid switch, Some new drivers this weekend didn't quite make that. It was a wet qualifying session, difficult, and also I think Jack Taylor also didn't quite make that as well. So
yeah, Alec Mazzura was hopeful, wasn't he? Alec Mazzura was hopeful in the Idola motorsports car that he would be on pole position. I think actually said to Naomi that he's on pole position, but whether he wasn't sure of the 103 or he wasn't sure that he made it was a little bit disappointed. So he's starting towards the back, but I think he's had a strong weekend. His first race weekend doing any kind of racing, being looked after by our inaugural champion, GB3 champion Nick Taylor as well. So he's got someone good in his ear. But did you always make the 103 when you were racing?
Of course I did.
Of course you did.
Of course I did.
But first good race winner at Old Park, don't forget.
It's a good addition to the championship because it means that you don't get drivers who haven't potentially got the pace to safely stay at the front of the race.
And also, you don't want a driver to start slowly and cause safety risks for anyone else at all. Exactly. Also, Tom Mills, I can see in the distance over there. Tom Mills, looking after the drivers at KMR Sport, and we've got Chloe Grant, we've got Lucas Blakely, we've got Harry Burgoyne as well. And actually, Naomi caught up with Chloe Grant earlier, so let's hear from her.
So, Chloe, how was race 2 for you in the car?
Wasn't bad. I think we maybe made a tiny misjudgment with the weather. Obviously we knew it was wet, but we thought it was going to get more wet, and we were kind of hoping it was, to be honest, for the way that we went with the car. But unfortunately it did start to dry up a bit. So at the start it was good, the car felt really good, but then it just kind of got gradually more and more understeery and really hard to turn through the slower corners, but high speed was a bit more manageable. So I was just trying to hold on. Megan just slipped past me when I made one mistake, which is kind of what you have to do in the wet. You have to wait for someone to make a mistake and use it to your advantage. So she did exactly what she should have done. So yeah, it was a bit more difficult. But I mean, last time we were here, it was really, really wet as well, and we had it absolutely nailed on the head, and we just went forward. So if it rains again, hopefully we did the exact same we did last time we were here, but if it's dry, I'll be happy with that as well.
And we've been seeing the wet, and how difficult is it to kind of handle the car in the wet?
I'm more used to it now. Like seeing karting, I prayed for it to rain. I absolutely loved the wet in karting. I should know it like the back of my hand. So I'm kind of just trying to get to that place in the car, because I've really not done a lot in the wet in cars. For some reason, when I've been driving, it's usually just always been dry, and this year it's been horrific. So it's been really good lessons learnt though, and I definitely have a lot more confidence in it. It is fun. It is really good fun. Especially when you get used to the sliding of it. So yeah, I'm just kind of enjoying it really.
And what's the hope for this afternoon in the final race?
Everyone wants to win, everyone wants the podium, so just the maximum we can get.
Thank you very much, Chloe.
Chloe Grant there, speaking with Naomi Newman, and we've got Nicholas Ellis, one of our new drivers. He's on the second row of the grid, starting in P3, and for him this is kind of like been a great weekend to get into GB4, and actually this reverse grid race is going to give him a chance to, if there's any kind of drama at the front there, and maybe Megan Bruce and Dan Hickey have a moment, or maybe they get a slow start, he could find himself leading a GB4 race in his third ever race, which might be, I'm sure he's going to handle it absolutely perfectly well if he does it, but it's quite a daunting task.
Yeah, I mean, he's sick first job, getting 103% for the reverse grid, done that. He's now starting with a good grid position, and he's showing good pace in dry conditions, so in testing. So let's see what he can do. It's going to be an interesting race, this one, actually. Looking at the grid as it is, it's going to be hard to call.
Excellent stuff. Let's hear from another of our drivers, Ava Dobson with BRD.
So Ava, a really consistent weekend for you so far. How have you found it this weekend?
I think it's just all about learning this weekend. Honestly, I haven't really driven in the wet that much, so it's just been a really big learning curve for me, and just learning how it feels to drive in the wet, if I'm being honest with you. So I'm just seeing it as learning, and I feel like it's going really well.
And what are the biggest things you are learning from that? Obviously in America it's a little bit different from over here. What are you learning?
Honestly, just in general, how the car handles when it is wet, and how to just deal with it when it's loose. So that's just been my biggest thing right now, and just finding a lot of confidence when I'm out there.
And what's the hope for the reverse race this afternoon?
I'm just hoping that I just finish well, just keep improving, keep working on what I'm doing, and hopefully it's dry so I get to work on what I was working on Friday and Thursday. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Ava, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's American driver Ava Dobson with VRD by Arden, and it's going to be a really interesting race for many different reasons, Piers, but we can see in shot right now the two cars from KMR Sport. Chloe Grant in the near ground with Harry Burgoyne Jr. one place ahead of her, starting P4, and actually KMR Sport can win the team's championship in this race. Lewis McGlade will talk you through all the permutations once the race gets underway, but I mean that's going to be a huge accolade for them, because that would be 3 GB4 championships in a row. There's only been one team that's won GB4 GB4, because GB4 has only been around for nearly 3 seasons.
Yeah, it's great because KMR Sport, of course, previously had experience in other championships. They decided to get involved with the GB4, and they've done a great job. They've been team champion. They've produced, of course, drivers champion in Tom Mills last year as well. So great to see them continuing on with that. And you know, we've got looking at a potential championship with a whole round or whole event to go, which is just testament to all their hard work.
I was going to say, how do you do better than winning 2 championships in a row? You go and win it with 1 round to go in another year. And obviously we saw Tom Mills last year absolutely storm the championship. He won at Brands Hatch last time out, and Tom Mills is obviously very heavily involved in the team, still a family affair with Kevin and Emily, his dad and his sister. And you know, it's very good to see them continuing to do well. It'd be interesting to see if they carry that success into the new era of GB4 with a new car next year. It gives you another opportunity. And I know you've dropped this in a few times, Piers, that Piers might have driven the new GB4 car. If you do want to watch Piers' experience, you can see exactly what it's like to go round Donington Park in the new GB4 car. Piers' feature is available right now on these broadcasts, and I'm sure it'll be available on the GB4 social media in full as well, so you can watch your full experience. And I know that you literally this is a smile that happened as soon as Piers got out of the car, because I think you relived your 2020 season in BRDC F3. British F3, so go and watch that if you can. The race is going to come up very, very soon. Is there anyone else in this race that could maybe, make up a few places? I mean, we've got Brandon Templeton here with Fox Motorsport. We've got a lot of the drivers that we've featured already a little bit further back. I mean, Lucas Blakely is pretty much towards the back there because he qualified so well. So I'm not entirely sure Lucas can get all the way to the front. I know he can do some magical things, but it's probably a bit too much for a push for him.
Yeah, I think one to watch in this race is definitely Harry Burgoyne Jr. He's starting in 4th place. I think his pace in the dry this season has been better than he showed in qualifying. Struggled in the wet conditions, and obviously on the second row of the grid, if he can get away well with some less experienced racers near him. So like Nicholas Ellis is starting alongside him. It's going to be his 3rd race start ever, whereas Burgoyne's been with us for this season and last as well. So he will be trying to use that experience to get on the podium at the very least, and I think he could be challenging for the win.
When you look at this weekend, we've had different race conditions for each one. At this age, and obviously people can race in GB4 from 15 onwards, are the changing conditions at that age, are they adding to a lot of the mental sort of side of things that have to go into this? Because obviously when you're driving a Slicks and Wings car for the first time, a lot of these drivers have come from karting, and some drivers haven't actually driven anything else before. Yeah. Is this now quite a nice way to end the weekend with, we're not worrying about rain happening, and that's not going to happen. The track's a lot drier now, because they'll have been through a lot this weekend, I think.
Oh, absolutely. We've had pretty nice weather through testing, and then obviously Saturday was wet, wet, then it was drying, and it was wet again. So that all adds stress and variables to their race weekends, but that's valuable learning experience for these drivers, because if they're going to go on to bigger and better things and other championships, they'll need to adapt well to that, and it's all part of the experience. That's the whole reason GB4 exists, is to give drivers a learning opportunity and a platform to build a career on. But ending a weekend in dry conditions like this, it does make things a little bit easier, and also gives all the drivers an opportunity to show their proper dry running pace, which is probably the most important skill in racing.
It really is. This is our opportunity now just to say thank you to all the marshals as well, because without the marshals, racing can't happen. I know David, who you might be able to see at the front there, David's a marshal here at Donington Park. He's always doing a great job. He's always coming over and chatting to us. So I know he wants to be interviewed, but unfortunately we can't interview him while he's doing his job. He'd love to be interviewed afterwards, but he's doing such a good job that he's never off. I think I don't ever see him have a break. I think he's always doing it. So just making sure that the drivers are in the right order here. We heard a bit earlier on, I can't remember which race it was. I think it wasn't the GB4 race, about some issue at the start there. I don't think we ever found out what the issue was there, but when it comes to it, we also have marshals out on the grid to make sure people are gridded up properly, and this is a learning championship, isn't it? So there's a lot to get right, and the first thing first, you don't want to get in the wrong position on the grid and get a penalty.
Absolutely, the start is probably the most important part of the race, especially in single-seater Slicks and Wings. It's the part of the race we've got the most opportunity to gain position, so again, they're going to have to learn to do that well. Some new drivers have got a lot to think about at this stage.
Yes, absolutely, and now they've got to think about the race, because for the last time this weekend here at Donington Park in the GB4 Championship, it's time to go racing.
One final race here at Donington Park, of course, as we get ready to get closer, step by step, to the season finale. It's been such a fun season thus far, and it could be over on the Teams Championship side. On the drivers, most certainly not. Linus Gramforce has the control on the Drivers' Championship, but it isn't over until it's over. We've got so much time left to go in this race. We get ready for the third and final race at this Donington Park weekend. Then we'll head off to Brands Hatch, of course, but that'll be in a few weeks' time. Refocusing here at Donington Park, see how much progress some of these drivers can make. The likes of Linus Gramforce, Alicia Palmovsky, maybe Harry Burgoyne Jr., who's up there on the grid. Could this be the time for his first victory in GB4? See the circuit, of course, and all the overtaking opportunities that they get around here, especially in GB4, more so. That run down into the Foggett ES, and of course down into the Melbourne hairpin, into that final turn at Goddard's as well. Plenty of overtaking opportunities, but the best one is most certainly that at Redgate. You can see the beautiful conditions that we have ahead of us here. Certainly a lot better than what we had this morning when they went racing in GB4 7 hours ago. It's been such a long time between races here for GB4. We've had 2 GB3 races between the last time we went racing in this and now. Let's take a look though at the starting grid. Dan Hickey will be starting from the front row and from the pole position alongside Megan Bruce on that front row. Could either of those be sneaking a podium or maybe even a victory? Nicholas Ellis will be starting from third. Harry Burgoyne Jr. staring at the potential chance of his first victory in GB4. He'll be rolling off of fourth position. Can he reignite that championship challenge after a disastrous opening race at the weekend? On to the third row of the grid, where we'll see Chloe Grant in fifth position and Brandon Templeton in sixth. A lot of people's picks for this victory, actually, rolling off of that sixth position. In seventh place, it'll be Callum Baxter, who's shown some great speed this weekend, alongside Lucas Blakely, who won the opener this weekend. Then it's Alicia Palmovsky and Linus Gramforce back to winning ways for the sixth time of the season. He'll be starting from 10th place, of course, the championship leader, with Liam Wilson and Finn Harrison, who grabbed the double pole position at the weekend. Obviously, the 3 drivers behind that weren't inside the 103% rule, so they'll be starting off the rear. Jack Taylor, then Alexander Mazera, and then, of course, the final row of the grid, seeing Ava Dobson starting from last place. It should be an interesting race. I have no idea who's going to win, courtesy of the reverse grid nature. I'm sure it's going to be exciting. It's going to be thrilling. It's going to be very difficult, though, for those drivers, the likes of, like I say, Linus Gramforce wants to extend that championship lead, take it to a couple of victories. I'm sure, obviously, extend that points margin and make himself a little bit more comfortable heading into Brands Hatch. For the Teams Championship, though, it can be wrapped up in this. KMR could win the Teams Championship, but they need to outscore Elite by 13 points and Fortec by 15 points if they are to win the title. That is because they need a 195-point lead in the Championship. At the moment, they have 183 points over Elite. So if they outscore Elite by 13 points in this race, then KMR Sport will win the Teams Championship, obviously a few weeks early. Lewis McGlade, Piers Pryor in the commentary booth. Piers Pryor, who is your pick for this race? Because it is not an easy one.
No, not an easy one to pick. I think Harry Burgoyne Jr. is looking in a good position, but don't count out anyone, really, because we've seen good pace from Hickey at random points, various points of the season. We've seen Megan Bruce is getting stronger and stronger, especially with her racecraft. I mean, the Elite Motorsport car of Ellis has also been good in dry testing. So let's see how this race unfolds. 18 minutes. Indeed. So 18 minutes as we had in the previous race. This time, though, we're going the full distance. We are underway. Look at Harry Burgoyne Jr. straight through the middle. Harry Burgoyne Jr. from 4th to 1st. Called brilliantly there by Piers Pryor. Straight to the inside, though. Chloe Grant makes it 3 wide. Straight around the outside. Lucas Blakely goes up in a 4th position already. Is Lucas Blakely. Out wide goes Brandon Templeton, though, as he's going to drop back. Callum Baxter in the white 45 getting alongside as they go side by side down the crane of curves. Excellent start from Harry Burgoyne Jr., who is going to lead from Taylor, from Megan Bruce, and then from Lucas Blakely. Big moment from Baxter. Oh, Baxter had a wobble going into the old hairpin. He's going through the gravel. He should be able to arrest or get that car back under control. Looks like he's made his way out of the gravel, so fingers crossed for no stoppage and safety car there. Yet Callum Baxter's underway racing again, but way down the back of the field. But an absolutely dream start from Harry Burgoyne Jr., using that extra year of experience from the drivers he's racing alongside to get away from the line, and he is going to put the hammer down from there. I said Jack Taylor, by the way. I meant Dan Hickey, who's the one who's running in 2nd position. That's what I did, in fact, mean. He won't be running in 2nd position for too much longer, because here comes Lucas Blakely straight down the inside. So Blakely making a fair amount of progress there with a big slide. It is Blakely moving his way through. That's a brilliant start from Blakely to come through from I can't even remember where on the grid, quite the bottom end of the top 10, yeah. So he's up, what, plus 7 positions already. That's a brilliant start from Blakely, and all he's got to do now is try and chase down his teammate. But we also saw Templeton go off the circuit at turn 1, and he's regathered things and is now fighting with his teammate Megan Bruce and the Elite Motorsport car there of Finn Harrison, as Ellis is now side by side with Chloe Grant.
Yes, indeed, and I think Ellis is going to drop back because here comes through Alicia Palmovsky having a little bit of a look to the inside. Palmovsky's going to go, will squeeze her way through as Ellis is going to hang on the high side going out of Redgate, and they'll head side by side between the two Elite Motorsports drivers. As much as they're inside different liveries, they are teammates for this round. Palmovsky will be on the inside heading through the first part of the cranes, outside for the second part. Will complete the move by the time they get to the old hairpin. You don't really want to squeeze it around the outside here, and Ellis is going to back out of that one. Oh, but only just.
Yeah, so close. Ellis is absolutely not holding back. His relative lack of race experience compared to some of these drivers is not showing. He slotted in beautifully behind Palmovsky there and is looking to potentially even apply some pressure, but Palmovsky's had a good run through McLane's, and now Finn Harrison up the inside of Megan Bruce. No, Megan Bruce has managed to just stay ahead on the exit of McLane's, but this is Alicia Palmovsky who's managed to make her way through into 5th place.
Teams championship wise, by the way, because it is only the top 2 drivers at each team, so quite a few of them are 3-car driver teams, but it's only the top 2 to make it as fair as possible that will actually be scoring points in this. At the moment, KMR Sport are running 1 and 2s. They'll be taking the team's title. There's Finn Harrison looking to the inside of Megan Bruce, unable to make that one stick. Here comes Brandon Templeton in the white and orange and gold car as they're going to squeeze their way through. You've got Linus Granfors trying to find his way through in the red and white Fortec car with that green, distinctive green and yellow helmet. It will be Finn Harrison working his way past or holding off from Brandon Templeton. Linus Granfors trying to find his way into this. I think he's just trying to play a risk-free race at the moment.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's just not wanting to get involved in any incidents. He doesn't need to. He doesn't need to potentially have an amazing race 3 because he's been had 2 solid results in the previous 2 races, has a decent buffer in the championship, so it's all about staying clean here. But he's looking to the outside of Brandon Templeton now. Can he get brake later and get the overlap through the middle of the corner? No. Templeton brakes late and manages to block the entry of the corner, but what about the exit? Templeton wide. Will that allow Linus Granfors through as Wilson goes wide in the background?
Yeah, this should be an easy move for Linus Granfors. Read that one brilliantly at Redgate, didn't fancy risking it around the outside, and Granfors has moved his way up then into 9th position. Championship leader moving his way forward bit by bit, but of course, the likes of Harry Burgoyne Jr., he's way down the road and looking likely that potentially this might be his first victory in GB4, as much as there has been a fastest lap been set by Lucas Blakely, 2.2 seconds behind. I wonder what Blakely would do, because obviously, you know, this might be the last race for him in GB4. We don't know if he's going to be racing at Brands Hatch. Will he close up and try and pass? Will he think, no, actually, you know what, I've had my fun, I've got my fair share of victories, I've got my fair share of podiums, let's give Harry Burgoyne one here and allow him to maybe close down a little bit more in the championship.
Blakely is going to absolutely try and close that gap and make his way through. He has said to us, you know, he thinks it may well be his last race in the GB4 Championship for now. He's going to go out with in the best way possible to try and give himself the best opportunity to get some more funding to go racing again, and the best way to do that would be to take another race win. Gap is slightly coming down at the front of the field. Well, it's actually pretty much almost identical lap times from the 2 KMR drivers in first and second on this lap. We'll monitor that in the background while we watch this battle between the number 21 yellow car on the right-hand side of shot. Alicia Palmovsky trying around the outside of the 66 Chloe Grant in the grey and blue KMR Sport car. Chloe Grant defends the inside. Palmovsky looks for the cutback, can't quite get it done that time.
Indeed not, but still getting closer and closer to the right opportunity to maybe sneak her way past. Chloe Grant able to hang on for now. 4th place it is. Alicia Palmovsky with a slightly better line coming down the craners, but still it's good defence coming in from Chloe Grant, who runs a little bit wide there going through the old hairpin, but not too wide indeed. She should be safe going up towards McLane's and Coppice. This is the thing, is that if you're driving basically on the racing line, not making a single mistake and finding the limit of the car, easier said than done, it is hard to actually force that move.
Yes, especially at Donington. It's these GB4 cars, they do have a decent amount of downforce. Nothing crazy, of course. They are sort of a Formula 4 level car, but they have that front wing, which when you're tucked up behind a driver, as Palmovsky is on the back of Chloe Grant, although let's have a look at this. Palmovsky having a look into the chicane, can't get it done. That means she's going to have a bad exit, unfortunately. But yeah, when you're tucked up behind another driver in sort of medium and high-speed corners, you lose a bit of front grip and get a bit of understeer in the car. As we've got drivers fanning wide out in the back, and it looks like Linus Granfors has made his way through on some of these, as it's Templeton with his nose up the inside of Megan Bruce, but Granfors has made his way past both of the Fox Motorsport cars on this lap.
And do remember, the two of those made contact at that hairpin in the previous race. Obviously, Megan Bruce and Brandon Templeton, so they'll be eyeing up potentially not making contact again, although Megan Bruce is in a little bit too deep as Brandon Templeton was trying to squeeze his way around. Linus Granfors has indeed completed the move, gives a little bit of the slipstream to Brandon Templeton, who's staring over the number 9 of Megan Bruce there, right-hand side of your shot with the red highlights in the Fox Motorsports car. Inside line coming in from Brandon Templeton as they head down into Redgate at T1. Taylor sat on the rear end of this, thinking about where his opportunity is going to come through, but Templeton is able to fend off Bruce, and so is able to hang on at the moment, but they've allowed Granfors to run away quite a lot, up now into 8th position. Fastest lap's just come in, though, from Lucas Blakely.
Lucas Blakely's last lap was 6/10 faster than our leader, Harry Burgoyne Jr. So that gap has come down 6/10 in one lap, 2.5 seconds down to just about 2 seconds. And another 2/10 faster in Sector 1, and we'll find out in a second how much faster he is in Sector 2. But visibly, that gap at the lead is coming down. Yeah. Although look at how far ahead they are from Hickey in 3rd place. Wow, these two are very much dominating this race for KMR Sport.
I would have been surprised if anything else would have happened. If you know, he's gone 6/10 faster on the lap than the leader. I would be surprised if anything other than the gap has come down by 6/10 of a second.
Sorry, Lewis, didn't mean to jump over you there, but Palmovski's made her way through on Chloe Grant, and now Chloe Grant's under pressure from Ellis in the number 7 Elite Motorsport car, and following through, or attempting to, is Finn Harrison in the number 38 Elite Motorsports car, the yellow one.
Yeah, the Elite trio ganging up a little bit here on Chloe Grant as she's being dropped down the order. Ellis to the outside. Chloe Grant will send it in a little bit deeper here on the inside. Bit of a lock up on the front left coming in from Finn Harrison, the 3rd car in that little battle, but it is indeed tight. Talk me through this replay.
Yeah, so this is Palmovski making her way through on Chloe Grant. Just a regulation move into the Fogarty S's. Chloe Grant clearly maybe getting a slightly poor exit, or Palmovski getting a good exit out of Coppice and using the slipstream to pull alongside into the Fogarty S's. And unfortunately, that put Chloe Grant off the ideal racing line and meant that she was vulnerable going into the Melbourne Loop. And now teammates battling as Finn Harrison tries to go through on Ellis. Ellis is having none of it. Great driving in his first race weekend.
Yeah, he's not scared, is he? He certainly is brave, is Ellis, as he fends off Harrison at the moment. Linus Granfors now knocking at the door to potentially find his way past. Finn Harrison to the outside as they go through McLean, straight around there, just about given room, although Harrison does drive off the racing surface. Probably won't be able to complete that move, although he is going to go around the outside at Coppice, but he did exceed track limits to complete that move.
Yeah, I think that was all fair game in my eyes. I think it went off to avoid contact with Ellis, but good driving to go all the way around the outside. But unfortunately, Ellis is going to lose 2, maybe 3 positions here, as now Linus Granfors goes through and Brandon Templeton as well. So just a little bit of a lack of racecraft experience there from Ellis meant that he dropped a couple more positions than maybe he could have done.
Yeah, indeed. Linus Granfors now knocking at the door to potentially get his way past. Black and white flag has been given out to a few cars, the 66, the 9 and the 24. 66, of course, is Chloe Grant. The 9 is Megan Bruce. And, of course, the 24 belongs to
Brandon Templeton.
Brandon Templeton. I was going to say, I'm looking at your timing sheet as well. I don't know why I've got a timing sheet over this side.
This gap was 2.6 4 laps ago, is now 0.7. Last lap around, Lucas Blakely, a 1 minute 29.4. Our leader, Burgoyne, at 1:30.0. 6/10 a lap. This gap is coming down. And the first sector, another couple of tenths taken by Lucas Blakely. He is on an absolute mission, and this is going to be a pretty tasty end to the race for the win, I reckon.
Now, I only have experience in these kinds of battles in sim racing rather than out there on the real race circuit, but I would probably assume your mentality is kind of like the same, in the sense of you have to keep telling yourself, how much do I want to win not only this race, but how much do I want a chance at winning the championship? How much do you actually want that? Because if you don't, which obviously everyone does, let's be honest, if you don't, then fair enough, let him through or whatever, or maybe don't fight too hard. But everyone wants that, and you have to keep telling yourself that yeah, sure, 7 minutes and 40 seconds is a long time, but you're taking it 1 corner at a time, 1 defensive move at a time, and 1 lap at a time, as you're desperate to take this first victory that could be crucial on your hunt for the GB4 title.
Right, so the things are playing in advantage for Harry Burgoyne Jr. here are, 1, track position. He currently holds the lead. 2, he has a 7.5 second gap back to Dan Hickey. So it doesn't matter really how much time he loses in defending to Lucas Blakely, because ultimately it's going to be a one-on-one battle here between teammates. Things playing into the hands of Lucas Blakely in second. He has a massive pace advantage, and he doesn't need to think about a championship. So therefore, it's anyone's game, Lewis. I don't think I could call it. I think Burgoyne has the racecraft and the defensive skills to hold off Blakely, but Blakely, we've seen he can overtake. He's got great pace. He's closed that gap to now less than half a second. So it's all about who delivers a better race as Parmovsky goes wide at the exit of the old hairpin, pushing hard.
Time penalty has been given out for Megan Bruce for exceeding track limits. I did notice from race control before this race started, they did post out a message being like, watch out for track limits, and the drivers aren't heeding that at the moment as they are pushing it to the absolute limit. Obviously, that was the first driver. One of the first 3 drivers that got warnings was Megan Bruce, so she's picked up a 5-second time penalty. Currently in 10th position, would cost her a few spots, and actually would at the moment drop her down to last. Wow,
it's so close in between that battle, sort of for the lower end of the top 10 in the whole field. So Lucas Blakely, that's the first sign we've seen of Blakely applying pressure to the back directly of Harry Burgoyne Jr. Blakely is in the second car, the number 88, and Burgoyne in the car at the front of shot with a slightly more colourful helmet in the 68. Both KMR Sport drivers. Kevin Mills, team manager of KMR Sport, will be hoping that these two behave themselves, because if they finish as they are in whichever order, then he is likely to be looking at a team's championship with a full event to go, which he'll be very happy about.
Yeah, indeed. Obviously, you don't ever want to make contact with the teammates. I'll never forget the first ever GB3 race that I did, where Trevor Carlin was there watching on, and Javier Segura and Callum Foyson made contact coming out of the island hairpin. And I distinctly remember the next shot was Trevor Carlin looking very irritated, just because these drivers are paying for their seats and stuff. You're still representing the brand, you still got, it's still your teammate at the end of the day, and your team boss, in this case Kevin Mills, probably won't be too happy if anything major happens, even if you are technically a paying customer.
Yes, of course. We mentioned it in GB3 a moment ago, but for those who didn't watch the race, you know, these drivers race for these race teams. They are not paid by the race teams like in Formula 1. They are, as you mentioned, Lewis, they are either bringing money and paying for the seat through sponsors or any money they have available to pay for their racing. And so, as you mentioned, effectively customers, but at the same time, the team provides you the goods to go racing. So you don't want to annoy the team principal by having any undue contact. So but these two, you know, they've raced close before. They've both demonstrated they can race hard and fair and cleanly. And I'm sure that's exactly what will happen. It looks like also another 5-second time penalty for the 45 of Baxter down in 10th place. So those two, unfortunately, will fall further down. Looking forward to seeing some moves. I think Blakely will have a go sooner or later. But this is also a very close battle for the final step of the podium.
Yeah, and Alicia Palmovsky's got a great record when it comes to podiums in races over the last 10 or 11 races. So Dan Hickey's got his work cut out if he is able to hang on to a first podium in GB4 over the final 3 laps of this Donington Park weekend. We do not have long left to go in this championship. Just 3 races at Brands Hatch will settle things down and will seal the title. Potentially that driver there, Linus Granfors, is he's the favourite at the moment to take the Drivers' Championship. At the moment, things as they run, it will be decided on the team's side of things. KMR Sport for the 3rd consecutive season will take the team's crown if things finish as they stand. But with this battle on the horizon, you just don't know.
No, we're going to keep an eye on this because it's pretty much the closest battle. Well, it's this or actually the battle with Hickey and Pomorski for 3rd and 4th. So we'll keep swapping between them. Actually, saying that, here's Megan Bruce, Leon Wilson and Jack Taylor all very, very close together. Oh no, 5-second penalty now for Finn Harrison. Oh, that's going to hurt his championship points situation.
Yeah, indeed. That's a big shame for Finn Harrison. Another driver to have picked up a 5-second time penalty along with the others that we were saying about with Baxter and with Bruce. My goodness, that was close. Alicia Palmovsky onto the brakes, nearly into the rear end of Dan Hickey going into the foggy S. The thing is, that's actually slowed her exit down, so she can't make a move really coming down into the Melbourne hairpin. That's the kind of thing she kind of almost needs to back off. Bit of a lock up there coming in from Dan Hickey though. She needs to back off going into the foggy ES to carry the speed through the corner. Dan Hickey at the moment will take the defensive line coming down to the final corner. How much risk does Palmovsky throw at this? There's another lock-up coming in. Clearly not much.
Yeah, Hickey's defending hard, pushing on, and unfortunately he's just locking up into the corners, which is hurting his exits, which is giving Palmovsky an opportunity, and Palmovsky's going to dart to the inside into Redgate, gets alongside. Can she get it done on the brakes? Side by side to the middle of the corner, so close. Gets ahead, a little bit of a squeeze, but I think that's all good, and a great move for the final podium place for Alicia Palmovsky.
Got to respect Dan Hickey though for leaving it all on the line there, trying to hang on for a first podium in the championship. His best result thus far, I believe, is a 6th place finish at the moment for Dan Hickey this season. So still a 4th is a solid improvement on that, but it looks like the podium might sneak through his fingers. 2 minutes left to go in this race, so once we get to the line, it will be just one final lap. And at the moment, Harry Burgoyne Jr. is doing what he needs to do to hang on, but it is tight behind. I think on the previous lap, Harry Burgoyne Jr. actually set the fastest first sector as well on the previous lap. So clearly there's still pace in the car, but Lucas Blakely's, well, he's dragging his own car around the circuit.
Absolutely, it's pushing on. It looks like the body language of Blakely's car is not that he's sitting behind. He's still pushing hard. Driving very well is Harry Burgoyne. He's got the rain light on, whether that's deliberate or not, we're not sure, but it's certainly not raining out there. Blazing sunshine, a wonderful afternoon to watch some GB4 racing, and hopefully we get a nice little battle on the final lap for the win. But hey, even if we don't, it's been a great race from the KMR Sport drivers.
Yeah, certainly has. One last lap then, and at the moment is Harry Burgoyne Jr. leading, looking at his first victory in the championship. Lucas Blakely in 2nd place. Of course, it'll be Alicia Palmovsky to promote her way up, but 10 seconds behind this grouping into 3rd position. Dan Hickey then in 4th. And of course, then it's Chloe Grant, Finn Harrison with a time penalty, Linus Granfors who will get promoted ahead of him, Brandon Templeton, Ellis and Baxter, the top 10 at the moment.
Yeah, of course, that's all subject to change because drivers may still be dropping the wheels outside of track limits in the last lap, which could change things. But we don't wish that on anyone, but of course the drivers are in control of where they place their car, so it's all within their own hands.
Control, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you a bad boy with track limits?
Occasionally. It's you know, when you're pushing hard, it's easy to fall foul, but it's something you have to learn if you want to, be successful as a driver, is learning how to push the car to the limit without going over the limits of either the car or the track.
Classic racing driver excuse there is, yeah, no, I was pushing really hard, that's why I exceeded track limits. All right, fair enough. Either way, then, into the final complex of corners, it does look as though it could well end up being a victory for Harry Burgoyne Jr. here, as it's not quite close enough for Lucas Blakely. Well, it's been a long time coming for Harry Burgoyne Jr., over 40 races in the championship, as he heads out through the final corner, and finally, it is Harry Burgoyne Jr. to take victory in GB4. He's had a handful of podiums, he's had a great season thus far, but taking the top step of the podium will feel very sweet. Blakely will take 2nd place, and of course, onto the podium again, it's Alicia Palmovsky.
Yeah, brilliant drive from Harry Burgoyne. He did it at the start mostly. He just got away and built enough of a gap that Blakely couldn't quite bridge the gap and apply pressure for long enough to take the win. But also we've got a battle at the back of the field. Look, a fist pumps there from
Mazzera.
Yeah, from Mazzera, who's very happy to keep Megan Bruce, Jack Taylor, and Alicia Dobson and Ava Dobson behind.
Now you can see a little bit of formation flying here with the result in this race. KMR Sport provisionally. KMR Sport are your team's champions here in GB4 for the 3rd consecutive season. Great fight between the pair of them though, but of course Harry Burgoyne Jr. this time did not crumble to the pressure and makes what started out as a very difficult weekend with that technical gremlin in race 1 on the Saturday. He's turned it around with an excellent victory, a first victory, and one that, regardless of what happens really at Brands Hatch, he'll walk away now going, look, I've ticked it off, I've done it.
Absolutely. Brilliant race weekend from Lucas Blakely, though. 3 podiums from 3 races. 1st in race 1, 3rd in race 2, and 2nd in race 3, if I'm not mistaken, Lewis. So, yeah, brilliant way to potentially bow out of the championship. For now, from Lucas Blakely, we hope to see him back again. It'll be great to see him back on the grid. But, motorsport, unfortunately, just the way it is. It's an expensive thing to do, and he believes that in this situation, things don't change, he is unlikely to be on the grid in Brands Hatch. But good to see the formation flying there. I like that. Sort of harks back to the formation flying of Mercedes. Was it at Imola when they won the World Championship? I think it was a couple of years ago. Formation flying for our Italian colleagues.
My goodness, that would be testing. That would be testing my memory.
I'm a racing nerd, Lewis.
Clearly, my goodness, you're pushing me to the limit. It does mean that Lucas Blakely, in the 9 races that he's done in 2024, he's actually been interviewed by Jonas in 8 of them. I don't know who you feel bad for in that scenario. That's fine. That's entirely up to you. It will be yet another podium. 7 podiums in 9 races. If Lucas Blakely was keeping that form up over the entire championship, he would have won the championship already if he'd have done the first 3 rounds. That's how good he has been.
Yeah, it's a brilliant introduction to the championship. Of course, Brandon McCacken was very strong at the start of the year. Unfortunately, we lost him again due to not being able to afford to get on the grid, but he drove that car very well. Blakely took it over, did the same thing, but today, the best drive in the final race of this weekend was that man there, Harry Burgoyne Jr. And we'll hear from him very shortly. Yeah, you can see how much that means to him.
Do you know, if you put Brandon McCacken's results and of course Lucas Blakely's results together as if it was one driver, they'd be leading the championship. That's always a little fun fact for you. Harry Burgoyne Jr. though, a little bit of a hug from the champion of last year, Tom Mills, straight over to congratulate Harry Burgoyne Jr. Of course, a successful campaign for KMR Sports when it comes to the team side of things, but the job is not done yet when it comes to the drivers. I will say, if you account for the cancelled races, because we actually have had 3 cancelled races in GB4, courtesy of weather, over the last 2 years, this will be the 40th race for Harry Burgoyne Jr., if you take those into account. So 40 races down, and what a time to have passed the 40 race milestone by taking a victory. It is confirmed again on the point that it will be the team's championship for KMR Sport once again. No one's particularly shocked that it was going to happen because they've been so strong this season. But to have it a round early, a whole weekend early, is again, it shows their form and their consistency. This time though, they're not leading the Drivers' Championship like they were last year in the dominant force that was Tom Mills. But still, Harry Burgoyne Jr. is doing what he can to chuck the team back into drivers' contention. It will close down the championship lead ever so slightly, meaning that we are going to have a tight title fight heading into the season finale, where we'll have the qualifying, of course, on Saturday, which really could put the cat amongst the pigeons and throw Harry Burgoyne Jr., maybe throw Alicia Palmovsky, maybe throw Linus Granfors properly into title contention. Either way, I'm going to be throwing down to Jonas to catch up with our top 3.
Thank you very much, Lewis. Great work this weekend, as always. Harry Burgoyne Jr., race winner for the first time. How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it feels amazing. Got a really good start and managed just to lead the way from there. Lucas put a lot of pressure on me there, so I had to really keep focused and keep sure I was driving everything perfect and everything.
Let's talk about that start then, because it was pretty impressive. I think you got the lead before the end of the pit lane, and you kind of maybe knew the drivers in front were maybe at risk of not having a good start.
Yeah, I mean, they're less experienced in the starts. I don't know last year, and I managed to get them nailed just by the end of last year. My starts have been good all year, so I mean, it is a good thing when you've got people that are not good in front of you. You can just manage to jump them, and then that's you clean sailing for the rest.
Lucas Blakely was behind you very quickly. Obviously, we know what he can do, and he was pushing you all the way. It was a nice little battle in the end.
Yeah, I mean, he was pushing me all the way. I looked at my mirrors and I had a big gap at the start, just seen that closing, but once he got to a certain distance, he couldn't get any further. I managed to be very consistent in my times and just managed to keep the lead.
And with KMR Sport now team champions, I mean, you joined the team knowing they'd won twice in a row, and now you played a huge part in making them team champions again, so I'm sure everyone's very happy.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kevin will be really happy that we've won the team championship for him this year. I mean, we wouldn't have been able to do it without Brandon as well, because he'd done a lot of good racing at the start of the year, so it's been a good year for KMR.
Excellent stuff. We'll let you continue celebrating. Well done. Harry Burgoyne Jr. there, race winner for the very first time. Let's go and find, where are we going? Lucas Blakely, here he is. Lucas Blakely, we haven't got long. You just keep winning trophies.
Yeah, I mean, what a start. I don't know if I could top what I did on yesterday's race, but yeah, very good start. Got up to P2. Pace was great, but yeah, ultimately just wasn't enough to make any difference in the end. Following home P1, and I should say, of course, a huge congrats to Harry. He's been way overdue this first victory for a long time now. It's fully deserved, and I'm glad I could bring home a 1-2 for the team.
Pushed him all the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones, like, it's the last car you want to do anything silly against, and you know, it doesn't really matter who was quicker at the end of the day. You know, the round here is really hard to follow, and the risk group, like, I could push hard, but again, you can't get close enough in the right areas. It was just a lot of risk, but yeah, gave it everything, pushed him all the way, didn't make a mistake, so he's a deserving winner. I'm really happy for him and the whole team, because this is, the team deserved this result. I don't know what the situation is.
You've won the championship, yeah. So you played a huge part in that.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to Kevin and he's like, I think we've won it, but I'm just going to wait until.
It's all provisional. It's all provisional. We've got to move on, Lucas. But look, I hope we get to see you at Brands Hatch somehow.
I hope so, but
we'll do everything. We'll do everything. Okay. There we go, Lucas Blakely, the man of the moment, the man that collects all the trophies. Alicia Palmowski, I think, yeah, Lucas Blakely was potentially about to cry there. Maybe made him cry by saying well done too many times. I'm just going to walk in here. And sorry, JP. Alicia, a great drive from you, another podium, and that's great for the championship.
Absolutely great result. I think that's our 9th podium of the year, so really, really pleased to come away with those points. Race 3 reverse grid races are always tricky. They're always pretty much damage limitation, trying to bring the car back in one piece. And obviously I am looking at the championship, so those points are really, really essential for me. But no, great result. I was aiming for a podium ahead of the race, so just really pleased to end the weekend on a high.
You were very patient behind Dan Hickey there, but you chose your moment on the first corner.
It wasn't optional. It wasn't my choice that I was patient. But I had so much more pace. But once I caught up to him, the dirty air from being in the car in front, especially through the high-speed corners, like the old hairpin, there's just so much understeer. So that caught me out for a few laps when I first initially caught him. So it took me a little bit longer than I'd have liked. But I knew the front two had already got away. Congratulations to Harry as well. I know it's his first race win, so that's great to see. But no, I'm glad that we managed to get the podium in the end.
Excellent, good way to end the weekend, and we'll look forward to seeing you get the trophy, and we'll see you at Brands Hatch.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
There we go, Alicia Palmowski with Elite Motorsport, KMR Sport. We'll catch up with Kevin Mills very, very soon. We're going to speak to him now. We're going to speak to him right now. Let's go speak to him. He's being congratulated by Jonathan Palmer, who I'm going to interrupt for the second time in a row. I know that Kevin Mills doesn't like talking to us, but he's won the championship. I mean, 3rd time in a row now. You haven't entered the GB4 Championship without winning, so that's seriously impressive.
No, it's quite amazing, isn't it? I'm still quite shocked, really. This year we've had 2 full-time drivers, and in the 3rd car we've had Lucas and Brandon McCorkin, and they both played their part when they've come in. They both won races. Now Harry's won as well. Chloe in that race really played her part. She kept the elite cars behind her as long as she could, which then makes it hard for them to make progression through the grid. So all the drivers have done a great job for us this year, and I'm really proud of them all.
And looking ahead to next year with the new GB4 car, there's going to be a lot of drivers looking at the GB4 Championship, and I think they're going to be looking at your team probably first, given that you've only gone and won it every time.
Yeah, I hope so. 3 team championships and a drivers' championship last year, and we're still in the hunt for the drivers' championship this year again, and we were runner-up in the first year. So yeah, I think we're one of the front-running teams. We've proven that now, so we should have a full team next year, and with a really exciting new car.
I'm sure people will be banging your door down. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
There we go. Kevin Mills Racing with KMR. Kevin Mills Racing, that's not his name. His name's Kevin Mills. He's with KMR Sport Teams Champions for 2024. Let's watch the drivers now get their trophies for the final podium of the weekend.
It's easy for some to say. That's fine. Of course, straight down into the podium. Thank you to Jonas there. Of course, lovely to hear from our top 3 and from Kevin Mills himself. Of course, after a very successful run once more in GB4. I will say, Teams Championship-wise, that's all settled. Drivers-wise, most certainly not Lena's Grand Fours. We'll update you with the points once we're done with the highlights and stuff as well. But I will tell you now, Lena's Grand Fours will have a 35-point lead over Alicia Palmowski, 37-point lead over Harry Burgoyne Jr. heading into the season finale. I would very much like to see one Mr. Lucas Blakely in the championship for that season finale, but now they've already settled the team's championship, we'll have to wait and see what they're going to decide, what they're going to do and how they're going to play it, of course, as they all prepare themselves to jump onto the podium. Harry Burgoyne Jr. will have to wait a little bit longer than maybe he's used to. You have to jump onto the top step of the podium, I believe, based on that race. I need to double check as to who has the fastest lap as well, because I believe it might have been Harry Burgoyne. I'm not sure at the end of that race, because I'm pretty sure it'll be, once again as we had in GB3, whoever had the fastest lap in that race will have the Sunoco fastest lap of the weekend award. There then was Alicia Palmowski onto the 3rd step of the podium, 2nd step of the podium. Once more, it will of course be Lucas Blakely for the 7th time in 9 races, but finally for the first time in 40, it is Harry Burgoyne Jr. taking to the top step of the podium. It's been a long road to this point. He throws himself back into championship contention after a difficult start to the weekend. Harry Burgoyne Jr. is the race winner. Obviously receiving the trophies, Lucas Blakely will receive his one first. Oh, sorry, Alicia Palmowski's already got us. Then Lucas Blakely and then Harry Burgoyne Jr. Thank you to Jonathan Palmer, to hand out those trophies there. Obviously, a couple of other bits they need to do, a little bit of housekeeping for them. Obviously, grabbing their photographs. Superb performance from Harry McGlade Jr. It has been a long time coming. He was coached by Max Maserati, of course, who was the driver who finished third in the first season of GB4, who also didn't take a victory. And we were all a little bit concerned that maybe he taught Harry McGlade Jr. maybe a little bit too well. Alas, Harry McGlade Jr. does come through to take that victory and will spray the champagne as well. What of it? Straight over his teammate Lucas Blakely. Good sign, good sign. Lucas isn't used to it. In sim racing, you don't get to spray the champagne too often, so he's got to figure it out. There he goes. Now he's figured it out, and off they run into the distance towards the commentary box. Actually, there we go. They've gone. Let's take a look though at highlights from the race. Highlights from race 18 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. Dan Hickey starting from pole position. It was an excellent launch though from Harry McGlade Jr. to go from 4th position straight through into the race lead, catching out Dan Hickey, Megan Bruce and Nicholas Ellis as well, straight up into the front of the field. Defensive line coming in from Chloe Grant in the first corner would lead the outside run to come in from Ellis, as well as a big run from Lucas Blakely straight around the outside. Bit too deep into the corner, Brandon Templeton would go, dropping down the order himself. Baxter would also go wide, coming down into the old hairpin with the front left tyre, not giving him the grip that he needed. He'd go straight on and dropping down the order. Alicia Palmowski would finally work her way past Chloe Grant after an awful lot of laps of effort. Meanwhile, Finn Harrison was trying to fight his teammate in Ellis as they'd worked their way through Coppice. Staring at the rear end of all that was Linus Granfor's champion leader, trying to find his way past all of it. Alicia Palmowski was pushing hard late on in the race, trying to find her way onto the final step of the podium. Down the inside of Dan Hickey, she would go and straight up into 3rd position. An excellent performance from him. Meanwhile, out through the final corner for the first time in 40 races, it would be Harry Burgoyne Jr. to take victory in a 1-2 for KMR Sport, of course, with Lucas Blakely behind. What that result would do in the Teams Championship, it would settle things for KMR Sport. They are the 2024 Teams Champions in the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. And on then to provisional results from the race. Of course, it was that 1-2 for KMR Sport, Harry Burgoyne Jr. and Lucas Blakely, 1 and 2, separated by just half a second. Alicia Palmowski in 3rd position for Elite Motorsports will keep her title challenge right up to the wire. Dan Hickey in 4th, his best result in GB4, with Chloe Grant inside the top 5. Linus Granfor was down to 6th position, still making a little bit of progress from where he started, but of course 6th position for him in the race. He'll lose a little bit of ground in the championship. Brandon Templeton in 7th, with Finn Harrison in 8th position. A little bit of a disappointing weekend in a sense, despite having the double pole position. He was expecting a victory at some point before we get to Ellis and Wilson rounding out the top 10. The final few drivers would be Baxter Mazira, who was absolutely pumped crossing the line. Can't wait to hear what he had to say after that race. Meanwhile, we have Taylor, Bruce and Dobson rounding out the finishers. What that means in the championship, though, as I said before, we've talked about the teams. The teams are settled. The drivers most certainly is not, though. Linus Granfor's 391 points, leads by 35 points over Alicia Palmowski. That is a race victory. He leads by Harry Burgoyne Jr. in 3rd position. The top 3 will do battle in West Kingsdown and Kent to see who's going to come out on top in the title race. Brandon Templeton in 4th, with Callum Baxter all involved in that fight. Lucas Blakely, well, if he does come back to Brands, might end up finishing 4th in the championship. Finn Harrison in 7th. Then we've got Jack Taylor, Chloe Grant and Brandon McCacken rounding out the top 10 of the points finishers. We're going to head straight down though to Piers, who's catching up with the driver who just finished shy of the podium. It's Dan Hickey.
So I'm down here getting some reactions from some of the drivers. Dan Hickey's with me. Dan, that was, I'd say, probably the strongest race we've seen so far. It's really good to see you, building weekend on weekend, so close to a podium.
Yeah, agonisingly close, really. I think it was was it the last lap? I think it was the last lap. Yeah, it's disappointing, but it's positive overall. I mean, we've made a good step this weekend. Like testing this week's been really good. The pace. Bit disappointing with quali yesterday. Balti gave us the reverse grid pole, so yeah, I'm pleased with it, but slightly disappointed as well.
Yeah, but it's if there's a silver lining to the cloud, if you're not getting the podium, you're beaten by some Lucas Blakely, who's come to the championship and dominated, and also 2 drivers who are right in the championship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's a good thing. I mean, I think my lap times were similar to them towards the end. lagging a little behind for most of the race until those last couple of laps. So yeah, that's positive to have that pace to be at the front with the.
Racing and looking ahead to the round, of course, in just a few weeks' time at Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Must be you're looking forward to driving these GB4 cars around there. But what's your outlook for that race weekend?
Well, obviously try and finish the season on a high, really. Come off the back of this race to finish this weekend strong. So yeah, looking to maybe get that elusive podium at the last round. So fingers crossed. Yeah.
Fingers crossed for you, Dan. Anyway, we'll let you go and debrief the team, get yourself ready and chilled out for the next round. Great to have Dan. I'll grab in Ava Dobson. Ava, good to have you back again. Of course, Ava, you joined us at Silverstone. You're back again this weekend. Talk to us about your weekend. It's the conditions have made it really difficult.
Yeah, I've had a lot of ups and downs this weekend. I mean, honestly, it was just a big learning curve. I've never driven in the wet, like race, so it was like, it was a really big thing to me. It was really like brand new to me. So I was just learning a lot this weekend, and the team helped me out so much. But yeah, I'm just really grateful to be back again.
Yeah, and of course we heard from Max Taylor, you know him from VRD in America, and yourself. You haven't done a huge amount of standing starts. Struggled a little bit with those in Silverstone, but better this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I think I figured it out now. Like I'm just having a little thing with like the wheel spin, but I think we got it down for the most part.
Wheel spin is preferable to no spin. But Ava, I assume you're going to be joining us for the final round, I hope?
Maybe, we'll have to see.
We'll have to see, but if you do, that would be good to drive one of these GB4 cars around Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit.
Yes, for sure.
Amazing. Anyway, sum up your 2 rounds so far in the GB4 Championship.
So it's been pretty good so far. I mean, it's just so different from America, so it's like I'm just trying to learn everything I can and just absorb it as much as I can, but it's just a whole new world here. Like, back in USF, we don't do standing starts, so I'm not used to that. And just like the rain and all the weather here is really tricky, and the drivers are really competitive. So it's all been really, really good, but I'm just still learning, of course.
Absolutely, of course. You know, you've joined the championship midway through. Of course, you came over here to learn a lot and gain some confidence, and I'm sure you've done both of those things.
For sure.
Amazing. Ava, we'll let you go and de-sweaty robe yourself and get yourself ready for a chilled Sunday evening. Thanks very much for chatting to us. I'll let you head off, and yeah, that's pretty much I think all the drivers we're going to get to chat to, Jon.
By myself. He just looked a bit lost there.
Yeah, I don't know what you were singing.
Yeah, I don't know what I was singing. That's probably the first time I've sung on the live stream there. Yeah, a lot of the drivers, we've just been trying to find the drivers. It's Sunday night, everyone's just enjoying being with their teams. Chloe Grant might drop by, actually, she said. If we in the next minute, if she drops by, we'll talk to her, but she's getting a team photo with KMR Sport winning the team championship, which I think is a huge achievement for them, and it's been kind of a little tougher year for them, with last year with Tom Mills just storming it. This year, as Kevin Mills said to me, they've had a few different drivers there. They've all played their part, and if it wasn't for Lucas Blakely coming in and somehow managing to race every weekend, they wouldn't have necessarily. I have to say, if you were like a GB4 wannabe driver for next year, you're going to be looking at them and going, well, that's the team I want to be in.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're team's champions 2 years in a row, and it's interesting that Lewis picked up on something in that race, that third KMR Sport car is actually leading the championship, even though not one driver has driven it. And obviously Harry Burgoyne Jr. is still in with a shout of the championship, an outside shout, but still there. So yeah, they've done a great job, but ultimately, you know, it shows how close the GB4 Championship is when our championship leader is not racing in the team that has won the team's championship, Linus Granfus.
We can have some behind the scenes, right? We might not have a driver, and we'll give Chloe Grant a bit more time to come by, but if cameraman Ben pans to the right here, just explain what's going on here, because we often don't see this, Piers.
Yeah, of course, we've got the flat patch where they cars, the GB3 and 4 technical team are doing, and yeah, it's to make sure that all the cars are fair and complying with the regulations.
That's it's a very important job, actually, because you don't want to make sure anyone's pushing the rules slightly.
Fairness is a huge cornerstone of a championship. Not got the fairness and the trust in the teams that it's going to be not a strong championship. But hey, we very rarely see any issues in terms of eligibility.
Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt there. He's not going to come to us, so we're going to go to him. Still reigning GB4 champion Tom Mills. He doesn't really want to talk to us because you like to hide out the back. But it's good to chat with you again. It's amazing for the team, and it's been a slightly different year to the year that the team had last year, where you were kind of storming it and run away with all those victories. How is everyone feeling? I spoke to your dad briefly, and as always, he looked a bit emotional.
Yeah, he's a very emotional character, isn't he? Yeah, we're all very happy. We've worked very hard. We've had 4 different drivers in the team this year. That's all allowed this to happen. So yeah, it's been a massive team effort all year. We've two of
all 3 of them have won races now. I think that was our 6th win. So yeah, very happy with that so far.
And this is the first season in GB4 that the team's won without you winning a race.
Yeah, I'm not the magic, am I? They can do it without me.
But you're a very important cog in the process, and it's good to see that you've very much been involved in the team. Is this a family affair?
Yeah, it's a family affair. It was a family affair when I drove, and it still is now. Now I'm driver coaching this lot. They've all moved on so much since the beginning of the year. Harry especially has learned so much since last year, and it's good that he's finally got his first win. He really deserved it.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, looking forward to the new car next year. I bet you'd love to have a little go in that.
Yeah, I think I'll have to take the new one for a spin at some point.
Yeah, that's the thing. Your family affair, they got a test drive in-house, so it's very good. Tom, congratulations.
To drive it.
Piers has already driven it, mate. We've heard about it all weekend, trust me. Tom Mills, the reigning GB4 champion. We've got to get out of the way, actually, because they're trying to get a car in behind cameraman Ben. I thought for a minute Ben had ears like a moose, but it was actually a fella with 2 hands behind him, and he wasn't doing it for a jokey reason. He wants to go home. Thank you very much for watching, Piers. Thank you, as ever. Thanks to Lewis McGlade and everyone involved, cameraman Ben, Channa, Cam in shot, and Naomi as well, and everyone behind the scenes, because it's been a great weekend of racing. We've really enjoyed it, and we've got one more race weekend in the 2024 Championship to go. It's in Brands Hatch in 3 weeks' time. If you can get there, I suggest you get some tickets right now. You can get it from the MSV or the GB3 or GB4 websites, and you can catch up with everything you've seen this weekend exactly where you're watching now. We will see you 3 weeks' time. A lot to be decided at Brands Hatch.